Good morning. This is Norma Cowie with a Sunday Thought. The last few days, my son just came up to visit me from the Vancouver area. And to me, that's always a great, delightful time. Not only do I enjoy him as a human being, we have great conversations on different points, like a wide spectrum of discussion, actually. And it's always a pleasure. But then comes the time when they have to go home, and you don't know when you're going to see them again, because I don't go down that way very much anymore, and he's busy with his family and all that, his life. So I really always appreciate when he takes time to come up and spend a few days, because when he comes, as he says when he walks in the door, okay, Mom, where's the list? Because there's always things he can help me with that I don't have people here necessarily to help me. I do get a lot of help from people, but there's something about having your son do things. So we did a lot of big clearing up in my bedroom area, and it looks so much better now. So yeah, big, strong, helpful. But it made me also contemplate and think about very often about how we can begin to contemplate and think about certain things and not realize the importance of being able to let go what was and begin to move into the unknown. Acceptance. I seem to have been speaking a little bit about acceptance lately, especially after on Norma Talks on the Wednesday, the reading for October, which was like up and down and in and out. And apparently, many astrologers have been saying the same thing. So, when I really looked at it in lots of ways, it was just that it seemed to have these highs and lows. There weren't that many lows, what I would consider low symbology. But what happens is that because it was high, feeling really good, everything's going great, bam, that's not so good. And a lot of that has to deal with being able to let go. It's like when my son walks out and now going to, put his things in his car and take off for his 5-hour drive back to the coast. You just got to let go and move on to what is the next thing, which for me this morning was a Sunday Talks. And I really feel very often we're not trained. Is that a good word? We're not into being able to let go easily. Yet, if we look when you're my age and you look back, you see how many things you had to let go. How many things had to go by the wayside? How many things you had to just accept that's how it is and move on. Now, the interesting thing is when you move on, there's a new set of circumstances that comes. There's a new set of circumstances that comes forward and brings about all sorts of different things. And it's about being able to move forward, realizing that even though something ends, it's always been one of the things I used to say, there are no endings, there are only beginnings. Because I've had a lot of endings in my life. And I really learned that, okay, this ends, but then there's a new beginning that's taking place, a new awareness, a new situation. And to be open to that, to recognize this is your life journey. Because when you get stuck on one thing that it's supposed to be this way, it's supposed to be this box, it's supposed to look in this particular way, what ends up happening, you begin to feel down, upset, and almost begrudging the changes that are happening that could be a lot better than what they were before. I mean, I have spoken, for those of you that listen to me often, I've spoken a lot about how miracles have come out of nowhere sometimes when my life has totally changed. But that was it. Also, I want to point out that that's being a willingness to allow newness in, a willingness to allow the different aspects to come in so that you can begin to work on those and see where they go. Does it mean every single one worked out exactly as what you might think it did? No, that doesn't always happen. But it lays the foundation for the next step. Life is a continuum. There's a lot of changes that go on in a person's life. I sometimes take great delight if I'm down at the local park watching young families with young kids running around. And, it's like, what's their world going to be like in another 10 years? So much has changed in the last 2. What's going to be happening when we go, into another things? How are they dealing? How are they coping? But that is the fun of life. And that's what I think is missing, is the philosophical viewpoint that life is a journey. And somewhere in there, and I don't know, maybe it's the TV shows, or maybe it's just the way people think, that everything is supposed to be wonderful, everything is supposed to be great, everything is supposed to be spectacular. Doesn't always work out that way, not at all. But what can work out is the awareness by being tunnel visioned or really overthinking this is how it's going to be. And you get uptight. When you get uptight, you don't let go. And when you don't let go, you're not available to see what the next steps are going to bring you, where you're going to go and what you're going to do. Life is a journey, one step in front of the other. And sometimes you may stop and realize, like, am I going in the correct direction for me? And I've always found when I've done that, I've been shown, yes, keep going. And it's always worked out. It's always happened to be rewarding and very situations coming really good. So today, yes, I'm a little sad. Now, I don't know when I'll see my son next. We talk every week, but it's talking and being in person is two different things. But that's life. Every person has their own beingness. And I'm very privileged that he takes the time to come visit, because he's very busy, not only with his own family, but he's also takes care of his dad, who's in an assisted living place after having some strokes and getting, dealing with a lot of old age stuff. Even though he's only 2 years older than I am, his life has been a bit hard in the last, say, 10 years. Life. Each one of us lives it. Each one of us comes in like a little baby. We go through all sorts of experiences. Then we either check out early or we keep going, and then we get older, and then we have a whole new situations to become aware of and deal with. And then, it's like, then we just have to be grateful and thankful for those things that come in that really make you feel like, yeah, this is really nice. I've mentioned before, out my window here, which you can see the light, I have all the flowers. And while my son was here, there were some of the plants weren't adjusting well after the summer into the fall. And so we've cleaned some of them out. He cleaned some of them out because lifting them and things is not easy for me now. And I've got all these beautiful flowers. And that's life. Sometimes the plants don't work well. They need to be cleared and allow the other ones to flourish in the cooler weather and the sunshine and the cooler. It's just beautiful blue sky today. So I just want you to begin to move into gratitude by accepting what is and be grateful for that. It could be much worse, could be very different, but it's your life and it's how you create it. I always say it's not the event, it's how you handle the event. So I'm very grateful that I had a visit from a person who's very dear to me, and who knows when I'll see him again, but that's okay because he's got his life, I have my life, and so it goes on, and we carry forward and we grow. And as I said, I'm very lucky. He usually calls me every Sunday night, so I catch up and what's going on in his world, and my world's a little smaller than his, but we kind of exchange news. I really wish you well this Sunday. Remember, look at what you have to be grateful for. Be grateful for it, but also accept what is. If it's not the perfect, accept it and just know things will change and do better. You have a great Sunday. See you tomorrow night for Mental Mind Treatments, and again on Wednesday for Norma Talks. Bye now.